Maybe. Think it's working. Not too sure if it's working. Awesome. Hi guys, my name is Sabrina. I am here with the Whale and Dolphin Conservation for yet another, yay, Facebook Live Let's Talk Whales or We Talk Whales event. Um, I'm just going to wait a little bit for some more people to join. And for those that are joining, I would absolutely love to hear where you guys are from. So, where are you from? If you have kids with you, how old are your kids? This definitely is going to be more of a kid focused more of a kid friendly kind of version. And I am so bummed because I had this really awesome PowerPoint I was going to do too, but technology got the best of me yet again. So, I unfortunately have pictures to show you instead that I forgot to grab. So instead, I have the pictures, and I promise you, next week you will have a super cool PowerPoint or fun pictures and images too. Um, so yeah, you'll just have to stay tuned next week for actual fun PowerPoint videos. Otherwise, you get me and talking about some whale species today. That's so awesome. It looks like we have a few people looking. We have Anna from Florida, a marine biology teacher. That's awesome. I cannot wait to hopefully maybe teach you more stuff, but you probably know a bunch of stuff already. If there's anyone else that is joining us today, I would love if you guys comment. Let me know where you're from, how old your kids are, if you have kids watching, or even if you're not, if you don't have kids and you're just watching for funsies, like I want to hear about it. I absolutely love to see and hear how many people have been joining in. For those that just kind of jumped on, my name is Sabrina. I work as the program associate here at the Whale and Dolphin Conservation. We are here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I'm at an empty office because all of us are working from home, as we all should. Just trying to stay healthy and all, but WDC, we have some really fun educational tools. So we want to try and teach you guys some more about whales. And basically, we're turning a whole bunch of stuff virtual. We have a website that I will post later in the comments that have a whole list of educational resources. So there are some worksheets, there's some crosswords, um, some coloring sheets too, and we are looking to add more to it too. Keep Make sure that you keep checking back because you can see what else we added to it. Otherwise, let's jump into it. So there are over 80 species of whales and dolphins and porpoises. And in between those three, they're kind of what we all call cetaceans. Okay, now I want you guys to say it. Can you say cetaceans? Yeah, so it's kind of a hard word. It's kind of a tricky word, especially for younger kids. But that's basically the fancy Latin word for whales, dolphins, and porpoises. And if you watched us on last Monday, we talked about baleen. And this is baleen. So whales, those 80 species of whales, either have teeth, like we do, or they have this structure called baleen. And so from there, it gets broken down into those two types of whales, and then there's 80 species from there. And you never know, maybe scientists are finding more and more each day. There's a lot of mysteries when it comes to whales. So I'm going to jump into it and talk about some of the whales that we actually see here in the Gulf of Maine. So it's a very special area because a lot of whales tend to come here because there is a unique structure underwater. And these whales like to eat food, obviously. So we're going to dive into it and I'm going to try and cover it up. And we're going to play a bit of a guessing game, okay? So I'm going to hold it up. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry if there's a glare. So this is our first species that we're going to try and guess today. Do you think you know? I'll give you some hints. So this species is a champion swimmer. They're really, really good at migrating because these whales go from the Caribbean during the wintertime and then go thousands of miles all the way up to the Gulf of Maine, actually right here. So they're also famous for being really, really good singers. They have a unique song that they can sing to one another as a form of communication. Think you know? So these whales can grow up to 40 to 50 feet. So that's kind of what we call a medium-sized baleen whale. And they're also quite a gymnast. So they have been known to jump out of the water, or they take their flippers right there. They'll take their flippers and they'll splash the water and stuff. Do you guys know? They are humpback whales. So these humpback whales are found all over the world. And as I said, our Atlantic humpback whales are migrating up the East Coast. So they are going from the Caribbean. Stay on this page. Sorry. So they're going all the way up Gulf of Maine, down to the Caribbean, and back up again. And they are also ones that usually lift their tail out of the water when they dive down. So they'll lift their tail out and then go down for a deeper dive, where they'll go and catch food and just swim around and stuff. So again, these are really popular singers and one that we see quite often. So on to our next species. So this one is a bit different. This species does not have baleen like this, because humpback whales do. They have teeth instead. So let's see if I can cover it up. So this is our second species. Ooh, can really see the glare there. So this is a toothed whale that absolutely loves to socialize. Oh, did you guys see it? They can grow to be around 12.5 feet long, so still pretty big. And remember, this is a species that have teeth. Their favorite food in the whole world is fish or squid, and they also sometimes like to eat jellyfish as well. Think you guys know? So it is a type of dolphin, but do you know what kind of dolphin? I'll give you another hint. This species got their name because humans thought that their long, rounded jaw was the nose. What does it look like to you? It is a bottlenose dolphin. So yes, this bottlenose dolphin is tends to be found in more warmer waters. They like the temperate waters. So they hang out in tropical, Caribbean, that kind of stuff. But they have been known to come up off of the coast of New Jersey is where they're seen sometimes, and we've even seen them here off the Gulf of Maine. Um, and these guys are pretty smart. They have used sponges, sea sponges, and put it on their nose to help protect them from prickly sea urchins or coral and that stuff. So they're really, really smart species, and one we see here in the Gulf of Maine. So the next one is the second largest animal in the world. I'll give you guys a look. You guys are getting to look at my blue nail polish. So this species, like I said, is the second largest animal in the world. They can grow to be around 70 to 80 feet long. It's crazy. Um, they are a simple fish. Their favorite food is krill or like a little small fish that they eat. And they also like to hang out by themselves. We never see these in groups or pods or what we call associations. They're pretty by themselves. Think you know? What kind of species is it? Second largest in the world. As one more hint, these are known as the greyhounds of the sea because they are a really, really fast species. They can honestly, when we're watching them, you can see them right here and then boom, all of a sudden they're all the way over there. So they're really, really fast. Well, they are the finback whale. The finback whale, yeah. So they can be seen all over the world, but they do prefer cooler waters. So they're not really the tropical fan lovers. They kind of like the coldness by themselves, a little bit of the introvert of the whale world. And they eat a lot of food. as you guys can imagine, they're a big whale. And so they have to try and take in around 4,000 pounds of food. 4,000 pounds? That is the size of a normal car. And that's what these whales are eating every single day. 4,000 pounds of little tiny fish. Now, one other really cool thing is, and I really bummed this PowerPoint didn't work because I can show you a really cool picture, is that these whales are unique because they have this thing, this pattern called a chevron. So this chevron pattern is kind of like a specific lighter color, but it's only on one side of its body. So the left and the right side don't match up. The chevron goes down the right side, and so the left side doesn't have that coloring. It's very unique. So the finback whale, the second largest animal in the world, and you guys can see these species sometimes when you go out whale watching. We've seen them pretty often out here in the Gulf of Maine, and I know I may not see a blue whale ever in my life because they're pretty. They like to hang out by themselves and like in much deeper water. But I can say that I've seen the second largest animal in the world, which is pretty cool. So next up, we have this is another species, and this is my favorite species, so I had to include it, of course. And this species does not have baleen. Instead, it has teeth. So I'll see if I can. Oh, this glare. So this toothed whale does not jump out of the water. And so that when we say like they jump out of the water, it's what's called porpoising. So as you can imagine, this is a type of porpoise. My hair's showing. um, this species can grow to be 5 feet long, so kind of a small species of whale, little tiny guy. They love colder water, so they're known to be hang out a lot here in the Gulf of Maine, and especially during the spring and the fall when it's much colder. And their favorite food ever is small fish, but they also can eat octopus sometimes. You know, when you're like, yeah, my favorite food is mac and cheese, but like, I'll eat pizza today, I guess. Well, that's basically what these species do. And the species is a harbor porpoise. So these harbor porpoises, like I said before, colder water. So they hang out in the subarctic or northern Atlantic Ocean or northern Pacific Ocean. And interestingly enough, when they come up to the surface to breathe, their blow kind of sounds like a sneeze or like a puff. So they have been actually nicknamed the puffing pig. How crazy is that? One of my also favorite facts too is that this little species of dolphin or porpoise, really a different type of whale, is constantly eating. So we don't really know a whole bunch when it comes to the feeding styles of whales and dolphins, but these guys are eating day and night. They're constantly taking in food to the point of each day they're eating enough fish to replenish about 10% of their body every single day. That's a lot of fish. It's wild. So, harbor porpoise, my favorite species. And next up is one that we do a lot of work with here in WDC. Now, it has a longer name, but it is a very endangered baleen whale. So remember, these guys have baleen, and I even have a sample right here. So this is this species type of baleen, and it can grow to be pretty tall, as you can imagine. So I'm sitting down and it's taller than me. And so this species can grow to be around 46 feet long, and its favorite food is copepods. Can you guys say copepod? Copepod, yeah. It's basically a little, I know that you guys have seen a copepod before. If you've seen SpongeBob, have you seen SpongeBob SquarePants? Well, the bad guy in SpongeBob SquarePants, his name is Plankton, And plankton is a type of copepod. So this species loves copepods. And they also are really unique because they don't have a dorsal fin. So that's the little tiny fin that's in the middle of the back. As you can see, they don't have one. It's pretty crazy. So this species is known as the North Atlantic right whale. So again, a really endangered species, but one that is really, really cool too. So its blowholes on the top of the head, they're actually angled outwards. So when the whale breathes, as it forms the blow, it actually forms a V-shaped blow. So it's really, really helpful for boaters and whale watchers because you need to actually stay away from this species. You're not allowed to come within a certain distance of it because this is protected under law. So it helps because then you can see that V-shaped blow and you know that you need to go the other way. So this species will frequent basically they are coming back up to the Gulf of Maine right now and they will head to Canada where they will spend their summer. Otherwise, they go from Canada or the Gulf of Maine in this colder area where they love to eat, and they'll go all the way down to off the coast of Florida and Georgia. If we have anybody listening from Florida or Georgia, some of you guys may have actually seen some of these whales because this species likes to hang out really, really close to shore. They're known as the urban whale just because they're just so close when it comes to it. And they also have these little tiny things called callosities. I guess I say really tiny, but it's not really very tiny, is it? So these callosities are rough patches of skin on the whale's head. Basically, it's on the top of their head, on the sides, and on their lips. And these rough patches will stay like that for the rest of their life. It's an individual pattern, which is why it's helpful because scientists can identify them. This is called, the patterns are called callosities. Can you say callosities? Yeah. So these callosities will stay on this right whale's head, and then scientists can take pictures and know who they're looking at. Just like you and I know, oh, that's Sabrina. She wears glasses sometimes, but today I'm wearing contacts. um, so yeah, really cool species. One of our favorite here at WDC, and one that we do a lot of work trying to protect. Now, another one that I want to talk about is, and this is one that we also do a lot of work with, but this is out on the West Coast, is, let's see, do you guys know what species this is? So this is a toothed whale and known as one of the biggest dolphin species. They can be around 32 feet and they're really compassionate, they're known. So this species will hang out in what we call a pod, and the kids will live with their mothers who live with their grandmothers for their whole life, basically. They tend to hang out really, really close together. Well, these are orcas, as I'm sure you know. I don't have a fancy card for this one, but yeah, orcas. So they have been known to be pretty much all around the world as well. And WDC does a lot of work with the southern resident orcas out on the Pacific Northwest. Do we have any Pacific Northwest folk listening right now? Yes? No? And again, I mentioned as more of us are jumping in, I absolutely would love for you guys to post in the comments, post where you're from, if you have kids with you, how old are your kids that are watching, maybe what is your guys' favorite species of whale? I told you my favorite species of whale. Do you guys remember which one that was? It's not an orca, even though orcas are still very, very cool. So this species is known to be quite the champion swimmer because they can be very fast. Do you remember the other species that I said was really fast? The greyhounds of the sea? Finback whales. Yeah. So these guys can reach up to around 25 miles an hour as they're swimming along. And they have these really, really tall dorsal fins that stick out. So they're very easy to see as this dorsal fin just cuts through the water, basically, like butter in a butter knife kind of thing. Um, so yeah, one that we do a lot of, also known as killer whales, but we don't really use that term a whole bunch because there really is no There's been no cases of orcas attacking humans in the wild. So I only have two more species, so just stay tuned, not too much longer. This is another species that we see here in the Gulf of Maine. It is a baleen whale, and this is one of the smallest baleen whales. Oh, I also realize you can't really see. So they can be around 20 to 30 feet long. So I say small, and they're still 20 feet long. It's absolutely crazy. Their favorite food is a kind of small schooling fish. And these guys are also really, really fast too. As excuse me, as they're only 20 feet long, when they come up to the surface, they just take a quick breath and then dive right back down. So they're really hard to watch in the wild, just because they're so speedy. And they also have really, really cool, their pectoral flippers, as you can see, are much smaller than in the humpback whales. So they have little tiny pectoral flippers that are so cute and so small, and they're white. And so they like to call them, well, so this species is the minke whale. Let's see if I can actually show you guys. So the minke whale, and as I was saying, those, as what they call the mittens, they call them Mickey, I can't talk today, minke mittens. So yeah, they are a pretty stable population when it comes to it, and one of the smallest species of baleen whales that you may see in your lifetime. Pretty crazy. So my last species that I want to show you guys today is not actually a whale. It's a fish, but it is one that's often mistaken for a whale. It was made popular by a YouTube video that none of us are big fans of because it really blew up. But what this fish does is it actually will float on its side. So I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's an ocean sunfish. So the ocean sunfish can be huge. It can absolutely be a huge, huge fish. And what it'll do is it will float on its side. So it's really, really wide and just skinny, kind of. So like floats like this, basically. And then it'll take its little tiny pectoral flippers that you can see. It has a dorsal and a caudal flipper, and then the little tiny pectoral flippers, and it'll just move along like this. It'll do its thing. Birds will actually land on the fish and peck off like parasites or insects, but it's a good relationship as the birds don't hurt the fish, and likewise, because these guys can get to around 10 feet across. It's mind blowing when it comes to these things. So we occasionally see these more and more in the fall, but now starting to come more in the summer as well, especially in the Gulf of Maine. And all of a sudden, you're like, is that a shark? Nope, nope, it's not a shark. It's just an ocean sunfish. um, so, yeah, these guys are pretty much found in all of the world's oceans. They'll swim up and down the entire water column, but they prefer to hang out on the top, as you will, just getting the sun, as it makes sense. The ocean sunfish, or the Latin name for it is mola mola. Mola mola. So that is all the species that I had today. Let's see if you guys can quiz each other. I will work hard this weekend to try and see if I can put together a little matching quiz for you guys to see if you can match up the different species that I talked about today. Because remember, there's species that have baleen, so this structure that I talked about last Monday, and then there's species that have teeth, toothed whales and baleen whales. Can you guys guess what are some of that baleen whales that I talked about today? We talked about the finback whale. That was a type of baleen whale that we talked about. And when it comes to toothed whales, the bottlenose dolphin is a type of toothed whale. So I hope you guys had fun today. I hope you learned a little bit about different species of whales, because again, I talked about like only 7 or 8 or something of them, but as I said, there's 80 different species. So I didn't even get to talk about sperm whales or narwhals or the vaquita, one of the smallest actual whales that is currently alive still. But if you guys have a specific species that you absolutely would love to talk about, I would love to know. Put it in the comments if you really think that we should be talking about um, if you're like, hey, I really want to learn a lot about orcas, or if you're like, hey, I really want to learn about right whales or minke whales or something, we would love to. Um, we'll continue this. We'll talk about some spotlight species videos and stuff. And I'm so sorry. I just realized that none of the comments were coming through, but that's because I wasn't paying attention. Let's see if there's any good questions. I know some of you guys have some good questions, so I would absolutely love to hear them. Ooh, we have some people from Pennsylvania, from Michigan, Philadelphia. Very cool. Some people saw a finback whale, Indiana. Leo would like to know why there aren't many right whales left in the wild. So that is a really good question, Leo. Remember, this is the right whale. And unfortunately, this whale has been through a lot of stuff because they, a long time ago, were one of the best, not the best whales, but one of the main whales that whaling would happen to. So people would kill these whales for oil or for bone. This was a long time ago because they're really slow. When these whales are eating, what they're doing is they're just floating at the surface and just they're like cows. They kind of just mow along wander and stuff. And that also means that they have a really unfortunate chance of getting hit by boats or getting entangled in fishing material. So, or fishing gear, excuse me. So they're pretty unlucky species, but we are doing everything we can to really protect this species because they estimate there's really only about 400 of them left. So if you guys want to learn more, we have some really good websites on our webpage, some good web pages on our website, which is whales.org. And like I said, I also post some of the educational resources as well. Um, Yes, Patrick, it was a postcard that I was using, but I, my technology, as I mentioned at the beginning, my technology decided to be poopy today, so I couldn't show my PowerPoint presentation. But I promise that I will be better, and next week I hope to have a really cool presentation with us talking as well. um, got some people from California today. Yes, the minke whales, I did talk about and Louisiana. I'm so glad. And I know Ohio. There are some people from Ohio as well. I know some medical professionals that are watching. So I want to give a shout out to all those medical professionals right now. Honestly, you guys are absolutely amazing. I know a few personally, and you guys are my heroes. I like to say that people are whale warriors, but you guys are the real warriors right now. So stay safe, everyone. I'm going to be peacing out in a little bit. But if you guys have any questions, I'll try my hardest to answer any of the questions in the comments below. Feel free to share, or if you guys enjoyed it, I would love to hear any feedback. And if you have anything that you really think that we should talk about, um, please comment below. Say, Sabrina, I want to hear about baleen. I want to hear about whale sense. I want to hear from Monica again. She's really cool. Or Steven, our new education person. So I hope you guys all stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane. Do some whale coloring pages that I'll post on our educational resources. Again, this is Sabrina from the Whale and Dolphin Conservation in our North American office, and I hope you have a good day and a good weekend. Bye.